Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Greene. Today I have the good fortune to be joined by Daniel Burrus. He is considered one of the world's leading Futurist speakers on global trends and disruptive innovation. The New York Times has referred to him as one of the top 3 business gurus in the highest demand as a speaker. He is a strategic advisor to executives from Fortune 500 companies. He is the author of 7 books, including the New York Times and Wall Street Best Journal Flash Foresight, the international bestseller Technotrends, and his latest book, The Anticipatory Organization, is an Amazon #1 hot new release for business. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, it's great to be with you.
Likewise, great to have you. Let's go back in time. How does one become a futurist, right? I'm sure you didn't wake up at 8 years old when other kids said, I want to play baseball, I want to be a fireman, and you said, I'm going to predict the future.
There's a funny thing that happened to me a number of years ago. I went to one of those high school reunions, and I had not gone to any of them for a long time. But I thought, all right, I'll go so I can say hi to people. And to my shock, people were saying, yeah, you were always talking about the future. So maybe I'm wired that way. I don't know. But more formally, though, to give you an answer that I'll keep it short but sweet, I started out teaching biology and physics and then started 6 different companies, had my own airplane design and so on. But I was always interested in new emerging technologies and what they would mean in the future. That was just a core thing that's been with me. And then eventually I sold the 6 companies and stuck with Burrus Research. I've been around for many decades, as you said, writing books, consulting, speaking, helping people to turn disruption into opportunity and realize amazingly how predictable the future is. See, most of us think it's totally not predictable other than death and taxes, but the opposite is actually true.
All right, let's dive into that because that was going to be one of my questions. Obviously, I would assume that you would have to do an immense amount of research to be predicting the future. So tell us a little bit about why you think the future is predictable.
Before starting Burrus Research, I spent a year doing nothing but research in all the areas of new technologies, lasers, robots, genetics, fiber optics, all that kind of stuff. By the way, when was this? In the early 80s. Yeah, believe it or not, we had those but they were just dawning. And I, again, looking at the future, said, we have something major tectonic taking place here. So I developed a methodology for separating what I call the hard trends based on future facts that will happen from the soft trends based on assumptions that might happen. Let me give you a quick example. Let's take wireless technology. We went from 3G wireless to 4G wireless to 5G wireless. Was that it? No, we'll have 6G followed by 7. We're putting a lot in the cloud. Well, is the cloud getting full? No. And if you don't like AI, can you make it go away? No. Those are hard trends. We can actually measure how fast they accelerate. It's actually beyond exponential curve at this point. And let me give you one that's non-technical. In the United States, we've got over 70 million baby boomers. Chronologically, will they get younger? No, they're going to get older. And and we can predict with 10,000 turning 70 a day in this country, we could predict a lot of problems we could pre-solve or let them happen, and we could predict a lot of new opportunities. Let me give you one that doesn't even exist right now to show you how you can innovate, knowing that's part of what this show is all about as entrepreneurs, with low risk. For example, A lot of people love to go boating, they love to go fishing, but when they get into their 80s or early 90s, they have trouble launching the boat. What if we designed a really good, easy launch trailer for seniors and we did a good job on it? Would we have a built-in growing market every year? Remember, we got 10,000 turning 70 a day. Absolutely. So we'd have a low risk innovation. What else? Could I go to a bank and get a loan? Yeah, I've actually got hard numbers I can share with them. Future facts that gives me a market. Would I know which countries to export to and which not to export to? Absolutely. For example, China, a lot of older people there. Japan, Canada. By the way, would I export it to Mexico? No, they actually don't have a lot of baby boomers. So you see, we actually even know that. So my point is, when we have hard trends, we get something very unique, and that is we get certainty in an uncertain world. And when you have certainty, you have the confidence to make a bold move. So two things I'll teach very quickly. One, all trends are either hard trends based on future facts that will happen, that means they can't be changed, or they're a soft trend based on an assumption. Now, that doesn't mean they won't happen, but for sure, absolute is different than maybe. And both have opportunities. What's the opportunity of a soft trend? Well, if you don't like it, you can change it. You can influence it. What's the opportunity of a hard trend? You can see disruption before it disrupts, turning disruption into a choice. Because today you're either going to be the disruptor or the disrupted. I just want you to have a choice. Secondly, hard trends let you see problems before you have them. Let's face it, most of us have said at one point in our life, I knew that would happen. And I would say, then why did you let it? So most of our big problems we could predict and pre-solve to move forward faster. Hard trends lets you do that. So everything is either a hard trend or soft trend, A, and B, if you don't have an opportunity attached to it, it's just academic. So what's the opportunity for you?
So that is incredibly fascinating. How do you evaluate what are hard trends versus soft trends? How do you make your decisions in terms of this is something this company should pursue or not pursue? Like, tell me a little bit about how you think about that.
I've given thousands of keynote speeches around the world, and at the end of a keynote speech, and often those are like an hour, 45 minutes or something like that, sometimes 90 minutes, I'll be talking about hard trends, soft trends as it relates to the company. For example, recently I was talking to an audience of 1,000 CEOs from IT companies. All right, they're from all over the world. So I was talking about hard trends and soft trends. So at the very end, I had them write down one on their phone, of course, right? One hard trend they knew would happen and a related opportunity. And they said, make it a good one. You're only writing one down. We're taking 90 seconds to do it. But we got 1,000 CEOs in the room all writing one down. I will collect them all. What I'll do is analyze them. If there's some soft trends in there, good. I love soft trends. I'll put that in the soft trend pile with those opportunities and give it to you as a report after the meeting. What I've collected is tens of thousands of hard trends. And if I look back in time, I can see, wow, they've proven to be true. Time has shown the power of them. So part of it is looking at the categories of hard trends. And I mentioned demographics, very powerful category. Technology, extremely powerful category. Cycles, there's over 300 known cycles. Do we know when the tides will change? Yeah. Can an astronomer tell you in 2040 in March when we'll have a full moon? Yeah, they can nail it. And if the stock market's going down, will it go down to zero and stay there? No, it'll go up. By the way, it'll go up forever. No, it'll go down again. These are called cycles. Warren Buffett has always said, when everyone else is buying, that's when I'm selling. In other words, you can use cycles to your advantage. So there are a number of ways that you can discern these hard trends. And my advice, let me give it to you right now, because we want to turn this into a teaching moment, is when we're finished with this, remember, the litmus test of a hard trend, if it can't be changed, then it's hard. If it can be changed, it's soft. So make your list of hard trends and opportunities that relate to you and your business or whatever it is you do. What are the soft trends? You'll come up with some that can be changed. Good, put that in the soft trend pile and the opportunity to influence it to help you. And then treat it like a refinery. Get it down to one or two that are not the could do's or should do's, but something that you consider a absolute must do. Because if it's based on a hard trend, it's going to happen. If you don't do it, someone else will. In other words, the cost of a wait and see attitude, the cost of let's see and wait for other people to do it when it's based on a hard trend only means you're losing relevance and you're going to lose it fast.
That is absolutely incredible. Have you done any analysis of, hey, because you've been doing this a long time, this is what I predicted, and do you have any gauge of like how accurate this has been?
Oh yeah, it's been amazingly accurate because, and I say jokingly in my speeches, I have an amazing forecast record of being right. That's why the New York Times named me what they did, as you did in the beginning and so on, and I'm a top influencer in so many categories. The reason is simple. I leave out the parts I can be wrong about. And really, seriously, I know we all laugh when we hear that, but the key is it's amazing how much you can be right about when you know how to do it. Obviously, I've written 7 books. Anticipatory Organization was my last one that gets into details of how to do it. I write a lot of blogs. They're free to read. I've got over 1 million followers on LinkedIn because I write on all this stuff. You don't have to pay to hook up to those things if you want to learn more.
That is absolutely incredible. We will go get the books. Absolutely. So, how do you work with Fortune 500 companies or any of their identities public where you could say, this company hired me for this thing and this is what I told them and they went and did that and here was the economic impact?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I don't just work with business. For example, a few weeks ago, I was working with the Surface and Subsurface Warfare Group of the Navy.
Wow.
So I've advised the Pentagon and so on, defense contractors, as well as other government agencies. I've worked in over 30 different countries and businesses large and small. So it's a wide variety. But let me give you an example of a smaller firm, probably about 8 years ago. They were listed, and they were very proud of it, as I think the 98th accounting firm in terms of growth. So they were in the top 100. So they were happy about that. And they got into what I call this anticipatory versus reactionary mentality using the hard trend methodology. Let me tell you what they did very quickly. One of the many things they did was, remember, we're going back in time now about 7, 8 years, and their customers were small and mid-sized companies. They're an accounting firm. And they looked at cybersecurity. And right now, small and mid-sized at that time companies didn't have any help on cybersecurity. So their question is, will cybersecurity be a bigger problem for small and mid-sized companies every year as time goes on? And their answer was, yeah. Oh, yeah, we can see that happening. Absolutely. So what they did was they acquired a small cybersecurity company, brought that in so they could offer that as a service. Within the first year, it was the most profitable part of their company. It grew so quickly, they have recently spun it off to be its own company. And by the way, I found out from that company a year ago, the CEO told me, because we used your methodologies and were anticipatory, we weren't just in the 90s of the top 100. In the US, we were number 1 in the world.
Wow. That is an incredible statistic.
Yeah, think about that. And by the way, this isn't like a giant company doing it. So we can all do that. As a matter of fact, you can do it on your own because today you're either going to be more relevant or less relevant. You can't coast. There is no middle. And I would like you to become more relevant. As a matter of fact, that's why I do so much with AI. I've been studying it for decades. And I think you may or may not know I have an AI strategy report that I give to people that they can use to get an edge on it. I don't know if you want to get into that or not, but I see you nodding your head.
Yes, absolutely. You were talking, I would love to. I was going to ask you, I know it's in some of the books, but for our viewers and our listeners, what do you think some of the 3 biggest trends affecting us for the next 5 years are going to be?
First of all, as you might guess, AI is influencing, frankly, everything because it can be applied to everything. It's been unleashed. Now, again, I've been studying, and a matter of fact, when I first put my company together way back in the 80s, AI was on my list as growing at an exponential rate. But remember, exponential starts slow, and then all of a sudden it scoops up on that curve when we're in the holy cow phase at this point. One other thing, we have generative AI, but everybody thinks it's all about generative AI. You've got to remember there's more than that out there, and there's something newer than generative AI. It's called agentic AI. And the difference between the two is important, and I'm going to make it super easy for everybody. Generative AI is about creating. I need to make a picture. I need to write the text. I need to write an apology letter. I need to create, right? I need to create some code. I need to create a PowerPoint. It's about creating. That's what generative AI does. Agentic AI is about doing. I need to accomplish a task. And it goes out and gets other AI tools and puts them together to accomplish what you wanted to accomplish. So both of those will have an increasingly profound impact as we go forward and impact everything. And I was asked when generative AI first started, will humans be replaced by AI? My answer was humans will be replaced by humans using AI. And my best way to describe that for people to understand what I'm really getting at there is, let's take the field of oncology. That's if you have cancer. Right now, AI has absorbed and learned every study, everything that's ever happened with cancer in terms of chemotherapies and surgeries and MRIs and x-rays. No human can have that all in their head. It's looked at everything globally, not just in the US. So if you know someone that has cancer, I'm going to give you three choices. Number one, a really great oncologist with great history. Number two, just AI. Number three, a really good oncologist that has access to AI. Bingo. There is your future. So we're not getting rid of you, Seth. We're not getting rid of any of you. What we're doing is augmenting you with AI so that you can be far more productive and accomplish far more in far less time. As a matter of fact, I mentioned the word productive. We're in the midst of a productivity revolution like we've never seen ever. And it can be on an individual personal level as well as on a business level. And I don't think I want you all with a wait and see attitude. I think it's time to dig in. That's why I created my AI strategy report. And I mention that because if you go to AIstrategyreport.com, you can download it for free. And basically what I did is I reviewed 1,200 AI tools in there. 1,200. By the way, I saved a lot of time. I don't think you would have done that. And so after looking at 1,200 AI tools, I got rid of the ones that aren't that good, and I put in the top 5 in a number of categories. Most of us don't even know the categories of what it can do. And then secondly, I gave you case studies from all different industries of how they applied it and what happened. I gave you other things to help you to protect yourself and so on. You can download that, AIstrategyreport.com.
That is absolutely amazing. We will make sure everyone goes there and gets a copy. How do you apply your analyses and predictions to your investing? And as such, is there a Burrus fund that we could all get in on, even though we're not making any investment recommendations on this podcast?
Yes, I do, and done very well with that. But what I would suggest is, of course, you always want to look at who is running the company. This is a key area. And are they in a protect and defend mode? Protect and defend the way it's always been. Many are. Or are they in an embrace and extend? Embrace the new realities and extend it to rapidly grow. Because again, you're either going to be more relevant or less relevant. So some are in a protect and defend mode. I would be careful of that because they could have a big name. Let's give an example. Intel. Intel is having a lot of trouble. They've been clinging on to the past, trying to figure out what the future is because they haven't been looking at the hard trends. On the other hand, there have been others that have been looking at the hard trends and have seen the future and are moving forward to shaping it and creating it. So that's one that I would say would be very powerful to do. And again, if you start separating the hard trends from the soft trends and then ask yourself, are they taking advantage of those hard trends that are growing more powerful every year? Then you know you got a good investment going.
I would make the assumption that you are optimistic about the future. Am I correct? And if so, tell me why.
Very optimistic about the future for a couple of reasons. First of all, I'm an optimist. Why? Because pessimists never do anything. They know it will fail. That's why they're pessimists. So they're not innovators. They're not starting companies because they already know it's going to fail. Now, am I a blind optimist? Absolutely not. I like data. Remember, I started out teaching biology and physics. I'm a science guy. So that's why I like having the hard trends that I know are there. That's why I like having the soft trends to draw from. But I'm also optimistic for another reason, and I travel all over the world speaking, consulting, as well as vacationing. It's a beautiful planet. I also wanted to see it, and I'm glad I have been. And what I found is that there are a lot of bright bulbs, young bright bulbs everywhere. Now, there are some dim bulbs, yes, but there are a lot of bright bulb young people that are just going to make it happen. And they're not only optimistic, but they see the new tools and they're going to use them to transform, not change processes, products, and services to create a better future for all of us. There are a lot of them out there in every country. I'm optimistic.
Awesome. We greatly appreciate your time. We know it's incredibly valuable. For our folks watching and listening, we're sending them to AI Strategy Report and anywhere else.
Yes, go to Burrus, BURRUS.com. That's where you can find blogs. That's where you can find my learning systems. Of course, you go to Amazon to find my books. You can find books there. I have special reports. You can have lots of things you can download for free there as well. So there's a lot of good resources. Also, hey, follow me on LinkedIn. I've got over 1 million followers there because I'm sharing a lot of good stuff. Hey, join the conversation.
All right. We greatly appreciate your time. This has been Seth Greene with Daniel Burrus. Daniel, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.